Hello class, today we're going to go over section 3.2, which is solving inequalities using addition or subtraction. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. It's very similar to solving equations. So for the first problem, we're going to start by getting x alone. To do that, we need to move the 8, so we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. This gives us x is less than or equal to negative 9 minus 8 is negative 17. That's all you do to solve. Now at negative 17, on a number line, to graph this, I would put a solid dot because it's less than or equal to, and I would shade to the left. For number 2, we have 2 3/4 is greater than n minus 4. I need to start by moving that 4, so I'm going to add 4 to each side. So we do 2 whole by plus 4 whole, which is 6 wholes and 3/4 is greater than n. Now I am going to rewrite this with the n on the left-hand side to make it a little easier. When I do this, I want to make sure the small end of my arrow is still facing the n. So it will go like this. Notice small end of my arrow is still facing the n. To graph it at 6 3/4, we would put an open dot and we're shading to the left because it's less than. For number 3, we need to move the minus 0.8, so I'm going to add 0.8 plus 0.8 to both sides. This means a is alone and less than. So you have a negative 1.2 and a positive 0.8. They're opposites, you would subtract them. You could think of it as money. If you have $1.20 and you take away 80 cents, you have 40 cents left over. Now the only difference is the negative was with the bigger number, so this is going to be a negative. So what this tells me is that a is less than negative 0.4. So at negative 0.4, I'm going to put an open dot and I'm going to shade to the left. For number 4, we have 1 is greater than or equal to 5 1/4 plus b. I'm going to start by moving the 5 1/4 to get the b alone. Since it's a positive 5 1/4, to move it, I subtract 5 1/4 from each side. 1 minus 5 is a negative 4, and we still have that 1/4 is greater than or equal to b. Now, just like for problem number 2, I am going to flip this and write it with the b first. I still need to make sure the correct end of the arrow is facing the b. So it's going to be b is less than or equal to negative 4 1/4. At negative 4 1/4 on the number line, we would have a colored in dot and we would shade to the left. In this next set of problems, they give us a verbal sentence that they want us to write as an inequality, and then we're going to solve the inequality and graph it. So we're taking a sentence and we're going to make a math problem from it. For number 5, it says the sum of 15 and n is less than 8. So you need to know that sum means add. So we're adding 15 and n. Then it says is less than. That's this inequality symbol. So we have 15 that we're adding to n, and it's less than 8. Now that we've written our problem, we do need to solve it. So I'm going to subtract 15 from each side. I get n is less than negative 7. Now I can graph it. At negative 7, we have an open dot, and I shade to the left. For number 6, it says the difference. Well, difference means subtract. So I'm going to put a subtraction sign above it. The difference of m and 3 is greater than or equal to 10. The is greater than or equal to means this inequality symbol with the line underneath. Okay, so going back to the beginning, the difference, we're subtracting m and 3. So m minus 3, and it's greater than or equal to 10. Now that we have our math problem, we need to get m alone. So I'm going to add 3 to each side to get m is greater than or equal to 13. So at 13, I'm going to color it in, and I'm going to shade to the right. Okay, for number 7, 24 is less than or equal to the sum of 35 and x. So is less than or equal to is this inequality symbol. And we know that sum means add. So we have 24 is less than or equal to. So I put my inequality sign. The sum, we're adding 35 and x. Now I can solve for x. I'm going to subtract 35 from each side. So I get negative 11 is less than or equal to x. X is now alone. Now down below here, I'm going to write this with the x on the other side. Keep in mind the bigger part of the arrow is facing the x, so I need to keep it that way when I rewrite it. This just makes it a little easier to graph. Okay, so now I know at negative 11, it's a colored dot, and its x is greater than, so I shade to the right. If you don't rewrite it like this, you just need to read your answer backwards, starting with the variable. So you read it as x is greater than or equal to negative 11. Okay, for number 8, it says 85 is greater than the difference of x and 63. So is greater than is the inequality symbol. The difference means subtraction. So what we have here, starting from the beginning, is 85 is greater than the difference, so we're subtracting x and 63. Now we get x alone by adding 63 to each side. So I get 148 is greater than x. I am going to rewrite this with the x first. It's less than 148. So notice I made sure the same part of the arrow was facing the x. At 148, I put an open dot, and I'm going to shade to the left. For number 9, this is our last problem. It says write and solve an inequality to find the possible values of x. It tells us the perimeter is less than 50.6. So what perimeter means we're adding up all the sides. I'm going to take 14.2 plus 9.5 plus 7.8 plus 10.5 plus x, because x is also a side. And it says that that perimeter, all those sides added up, is less than 50.6. So we are going to take 14.2 plus 9.5 plus 7.8 plus 10.5 plus x. So I'm going to add up all of the 14.2, 9.5, 7.8, 10.5 first to get 42. Plus x is less than 50.6. So all I did was combine those like terms on the left-hand side. Now I'm going to subtract the 42 from each side. X is now alone, and I get x is less than. When I subtract this, I get 8.6. So we know x has to be less than 8.6. And that is it for today. If you have any questions, be sure to contact your teacher.